Hi, everybody. Welcome to another session of Gentle Chair Yoga with Keith Beasley. My name is Batya Blumenthal. I'm the branch supervisor of the Putterham location of the Public Library of Brookline, and we are happy to welcome you. We wanted to thank our friends of the Brookline Public Library for sponsoring this program and programs like it. We also wanted to recognize our community partners, Brookline Interactive Group, for streaming our program to their Facebook page, their YouTube page, as well as Xfinity and RCN Local Channel 3. As always, participation in this online yoga program could result in injury. Not all exercises presented here are suitable for everyone. These exercises are not intended to substitute for proper medical care or advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any exercise program. The creators, teachers, and producers assume no responsibility for injuries from participation in this program. And with that, I give you Keith.
Hi, good morning. Let's start in our seated mountain pose. I always start this way, or you could be standing too. If you want to do standing mountain pose, you can do that if you're familiar with it. And we'll just take a few breaths. And notice where your feet are. Check where the feet are relative to the knees and the hips. We want them approximately even with each other. In other words, kind of straight. Notice the feet are pointed straight ahead. A little wider than the hips is okay, but not too close together. Hard to be stable. If we have our feet close together, we lose our stability. And then go ahead and feel the underside of your bottom. Give it a wiggle like this. So you can feel the sitting bones on the chair that you're sitting on. Or if you're standing, just feel the bottoms of the feet. And as you inhale, go ahead and lift the heart up. So my heart is right here. I'm thinking about, you could even put your hand right here. And as you lift up, feel the heart rising up, or the front of the chest, just a little bit. So it's a small movement. So we call these micro movements because they're so small. We want to avoid leaning backwards, though. Don't lean backwards. We want to be vertical so that when we lift the heart up, there's an opening in the chest and the shoulder blades come slightly together, and we relax and release the shoulder blades down. So that's an important part, is the extension of the spine and also releasing the shoulders down. And you'll probably find one releases down more easily than the other. And that's normal. We're not symmetrical on both sides. We're, what would we say? We are asymmetrical beings, animals. And relaxing the face and the eyes. So we call this seated mountain pose because we are firm like a mountain with the support from our feet and underneath our buttocks in the chair. So we feel a stability that enables us to extend the spine up. And perhaps feel like the spine is extending a little bit more, lifting up on the inhalation, and then on the exhalation, the arms dangle down. Let the arms dangle down so they help to move the shoulders down. And remember, we don't force in any of the postures that we do, in any of the movements we do today. There's no forcing to get into a position. So when we let the arms hang down, we let the weight of the arms do the work. We soften the shoulders, and then they naturally move down from the weight of the arms. And let's make the sound of Om together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ring the bell, or ring the bowl. It's not really it's a bowl, not a bell. And when you hear that sound, see if you can tune your voice. It's a little bit hard over Zoom, but it can be done. Listen carefully to the sound from the bowl, and then try to tune the voice. So try to listen, listen, and at the same time adjust the voice to fit with the bowl. And I'll ding the bowl. Um, I'll wait a few seconds so that we have time to take another breath in, and then to exhale as we're making the sound of Om. So remember, the Om sound is the ah, oh, as if we're singing ah, oh, Notice the shape of the mouth. So let's begin natural, and this is natural breathing. So everything we do in this class, we'll breathe naturally, we'll breathe in a relaxed manner. If you find that you're getting out of breath, then try to ease off a little bit. See if you can get the breath to calm back down. So we don't want, when our breath, especially if we're breathing hard in and out through the mouth, it indicates that we're overexerting. And we want to be balanced in our yoga practice. So a little exertion, a little work, a feeling of some work is okay, but we don't want to be overworking, just like we don't want to be falling asleep until the end of the class anyway. If you can relax in your chair at the end, that's really good. So let's begin. We'll inhale, nice even breath in. Another normal breath in. Relaxing the shoulders down. Softening the face and eyes. Releasing the jaw, the tongue, the throat. Last one. Sitting up nice and tall. And just listen to the silence for a moment. Perhaps a little sip of water. Always nice to have a little water handy. And let's begin by going side to side here. So I'm going to warm up. So it's still wintertime. If you're in the Boston area, and there's still plenty of snow, so it's cold. So we want to be warm enough, and this goes for any exercise, any physical practices that we do. We want to be warm enough so that the muscles and the joints, the circulation gets going, so that the body is really functioning optimally, or as close to optimally as we can get. As we can get it. And this is a place, remember, we have a choice here about how high we lift the knee and also how quickly we go from side to side. So going a little slower can be a little more meditative and also requires a little more core strength. Going a little faster can get your motor going a little bit more, can be maybe a little more fun. So attention goes outwards. Whereas if we go slow, our attention comes more inwards. We have to really, because we're focusing so much, rather than letting the energy sort of, letting the movement kind of move outwards. And then we're going to slow down and take a few breaths, a few cactus breaths. Inhale and exhale. Mindful of the shoulders here. So we want the shoulders to be able to stay relaxed. So the elbows no higher than the shoulders. So if you want to be really strict about your cactus breath, it would be like this, and opening, and then coming back, and even potentially touching the elbows together. But that's hard for me. So be mindful about not forcing the elbows together. So this is about as close as my elbows comfortably get, at least at this time in the practice. But you can work with the elbows anywhere down below that. You could even work with the hands coming out to the side like this. We're really working on opening the chest, feeling the breath coming into the ribs, getting a nice full breath with ease. That's important, to do this with some ease. So it feels like it's no big deal. You're just breathing in, and it maybe feels good. A nice breath. When we get a good breath in, it's kind of like sometimes when we sigh, we let the air out really well, we feel better after. And that's what yoga is about. And then sitting up nice and tall, we'll bring the palms together and we'll inhale and let the hands float up. Inhale up. And this is where a block or a rolled up towel with a couple of rubber bands around it, you can put it between the legs to help activate the inner thighs here. And it's a very light squeeze, just enough squeezing to hold the block. And you could vary the width of the block to fit your pelvis, your hips. So I'm kind of a medium to narrow hip person, so I'm going to have the block in a medium position. And so we're inhaling and exhaling, the hands float down. Adjusting the height, how high we go depends on your shoulders. If you start to feel the shoulders really going up towards the ears like this, then you're probably going too high with the hands. The shoulders are going to rise up, but we don't want them to rise up a lot. And we want them to feel like they're moving with some ease. So we bring the palms together and circling, lifting the heart a little bit as you breathe in. Shoulder blades come together slightly. So depending on your shoulders, you could make big circles, or you might prefer smaller circles. You could even give a sigh as you exhale. And then let's bring the hands together and pause in the middle, and we'll drop the hands and inhale up. You might even find the chin is rising and falling with the hands. But thinking about the heart moving here, the chest opening rather than the chin moving. It's easy. The easiest parts of the spine to move are the most mobile parts are the neck and the lumbar area. So this exercise targets the thoracic spine, which is right between the shoulder blades. And then we'll bring the hands together and a couple more cactus breaths. And this time we're going to wrap ourselves with our hands. So either on the elbows, maybe the triceps, change which arm is on top each time, or even the shoulders or shoulder blades. But we want to do it so that it feels like a nice hug. We're not straining. It's not like when, if you've ever been hugged by somebody and they squash you, you may have had that happen to you before. It's not like that. We want this to be a nice hug. This is a loving hug without squashing. And then one more time. And then bringing the hands down and then rolling the shoulders. Do them together, the first few. And then try one and then the other. And as you roll one up, let the other one relax down. So it's kind of like they're going in opposite direction. One relaxes down while the other is going up. You might even, if you lean a little bit, that's okay. Try not to lean too much. but one is going down while one is going up. So it's releasing that shoulder blade when it goes down. Let's go the other way. And let's start to do a little swimming here, targeting this turning in the belly, turning in the belly. So we're warming up the shoulders, and we're warming up the core of the body first. So the main areas to warm up are the shoulder area, the core, and the pelvis and hips. And as we start to warm up those areas, the rest of the body warms up. So notice how I'm turning. If you have trouble with the turning, remember you can use your elbows like this. You could reach out like you're swimming and then move the opposite elbow back and then bring the other hand forward. So it's really the movement is coming across the belly like this. This is a horizontal movement. And if you have to, slow it down. You could even, it can be let's sit up nice and tall. So a handy way to practice, perhaps think about this today when we do movements, especially if there's anything new or something that isn't easy for you. First, think about maybe visualizing the movement, closing the eyes for just a few seconds. Visualize what you're doing or what you want to do. And then as you open your eyes, think about doing it. And think about what it looked like in your mind when you were doing it. And then see if you can start to feel it moving. Feel the movement. So we go from sort of imagining the movement to thinking about it, to using our concreteness to then begin to feel the movement. And of course, the concreteness and the feeling are in different parts of the brain. We don't use the thinking about it as an analytical part. We use an analytical part of the brain. Feeling is more of the emotional part of the brain. So sitting up nice and tall, and let's go down to the feet and rock the feet. So we're going to start to wake up the legs here. So we're going to start by rocking the feet. We'll do the toes in a minute. So lifting the toes up, lifting the heels up. See if you can keep the feet straight, or as straight as you can. And perhaps slow it down a little bit. Be mindful. Feel the bottoms of the feet rocking across the floor. So that means the three parts of the foot that I'm talking about are the ball of the foot, the sort of area next to the arch. The arch is right here, and then the heel is here. So as we rock, I'm just taking my shoes off so you can see better. I'm really being mindful of each one of those three sections. So I feel the weight in each spot. I feel the weight coming into the ball of the foot. And then as they rock back, I feel the weight moving across next to the arch. And then finally, I feel it into the heel, into the very back of the foot back here. So it's like it's going like this. And then we're going to pause the feet and then lay the feet flat for a moment and lift the toes up like this. So now the rest of the feet aren't doing it. The foot isn't really doing much. It's just sitting there. And I'm lifting the toes up. Even if you're in shoes, just lift up as much as you can without forcing though. So we're just trying to get a little bit of lifting like this. And let's add the fingers to it. Fingers are easier to do like this. Holding the hands out, relaxing the hands, and then lifting the fingers open and then down. And notice how my toes and fingers are working. They're in sync. I'm lifting my toes up, lifting my fingers up. And then imagine there's a connection between the fingertips and the toe tips. So use your imagination, use your feeling part, the feeling part of the body, and see if you can feel this movement together. The fingers are moving up, the toes are lifting up. See if you can get them to feel like they're going at the same time. So with practice, it gets easier with the feet. So if you practice that on a regular basis, it's a great way to wake the feet up. Remember, we talk about this a lot. You can't get something to move that you can't feel. If there's a part of your body that you're unable to feel it, then it's not going to move very much. Hard to get it to do much of anything. It just sits there. And that's why it's so important to keep every part of the body, especially the extremities, moving. And let's see, what are we doing? We're going to do the knees. Let's lift one knee up and swing it like this. And remember, you have a choice here in your chair. You have a choice of not using the back of the chair, sitting up like this. Just make sure that the back's not rounding. We want to be able to keep the lift here and the curve going in slightly, or not a lot in, but enough so that the spine is supported. If you're doing this, the spine becomes unsupported, and the vertebrae in the front of the spine down here crunch together, and we don't want that. But so you have the back of the chair, and the chair is a great friend to help keep the spine lifted. Oh, actually, so we were doing the knee. Sorry, we're swinging the knee like this. And let's do the other knee. So lifting up, try to keep the knee and the hip and the toes in line here. The hinge joint in the knee. So this is a nice, anatomically, this is a good way for the knee joint to move. Does not go sideways like this. It's not good for the knee. And then lift one foot up and we'll point and flex. So this is for the ankle, especially the front of the ankle. And we'll get a little bit of stretching on the Achilles tendon here too, as we pull the toes back. And if you need more waking up in the foot, you can go a little faster. Although I notice when I go faster that the movement's not as clear. I have to slow it down in order to make it a nice even, so that the sole of the foot stays even like the palm of my hand is. And let's do the other side. Lift up, point, and flex. And if you want, you can add the opposite hand like this. It's almost like your hand and your foot are nodding. You could even add the head a little bit if you wanted. And I'm not forcing my head down. It's just a slight bow of the head. The movement's just a little to accompany the hand and the foot. But that's an extra. You don't have to do that. But let's do the other side again with the hand. I don't think we did that one. And if you want to add the head, just a nodding, almost like yes, saying yes. Practice saying yes. Even when you don't, it's not your first choice, and see what happens. As long as you know it's not something really, really dumb to do. And sitting up nice and tall. Let's lean from side to side again, a couple of times. And as you lean, think about extending the spine up as you lean, and then back the other way. And then go ahead and slide forward. And so we're going to circle around. And this is where we're keeping the spine extended up. So there's a lifting of the chest. Notice I'm looking out across the room, not at the floor. I'm circling. You could start with the hands on the knees, and the elbows are bending. The arms are supporting the torso here. So the movement is coming, or the folding forward is coming all the way down here at the crease between the top of the leg and the torso, right here. You could even find it's actually my front hip bones are right here. If you find your front hip bones, that's where the bending is coming. Notice that the front and the back of the spine are both long. I'm not rounding like this. There's no collapsing. I'm extending. or I'm actually maintaining kind of a neutral spine, but I'm bending down at the waist. And that's really, so many of the movements that we do, we'd like to maintain those curves in the spine as best we can. And that means a neutral spine, or the same spine we would have as if we were sitting up or standing up straight. And even as I'm going backwards, let's change direction. Even as I'm going backwards, there's still a straightness in the spine. I'm not rounding the lower back like this. I'm not arching like this. I'm keeping the spine extended as I lean back slightly. If you want to make it more challenging, you can slide away from the back of the chair to give yourself more room, so you can lean back further. Just don't, try not to bang into the chair. But being harder isn't necessarily better. We want to make sure we're engaging the core muscles here as we're circling around. So these two circles that we're making are really good for building strength in the core. That's the sides and the belly and the back. And sitting up nice and tall. Take a breath in. And one more. And you can, by the way, you can use your block at any time to add that firmness to the inner thighs. So what happens is, as we use the inner thighs and we use the quadriceps here, we bring more stability to the pelvic area. And stability is good. Stability is good for us. Sitting up nice and tall, and let's lift the chin up and then release it down. But you don't have to have anything between the legs. It's not a requirement. You could even just put the hands there if you wanted. When we're doing our neck exercises, we can make fists, put them between the legs, and give a gentle squeeze, just a little squeeze, as we lift the chin up and down. Keeping the shoulders relaxed here. And I like to, when I'm doing neck exercises, to close my eyes. As long as you feel comfortable in your chair, as long as your balance is good, it can be a nice way to help relax and sort of let go of this area between the neck and the shoulders. And sitting up nice and tall, and we'll let the head lean to one side and then the other. If you want, you can add your pillow with your hands together. And you're welcome to either lean a little bit more or not lean. Just sitting up nice and tall and letting the head, kind of your choice. Even perhaps adding the breath, inhaling up and exhaling down as if you were going to go to sleep, inhaling up. That exhalation is a great way to relax the muscles. Great way to relax the nervous system in the body. Inhale up. Exhale. And let's go ahead and let's start with the hand like this. And gently swing the hand from side to side. And try like this. Try keeping the torso in the same spot, and let the hand and the shoulder begin to swing back and forth. And then let the eyes or let the nose follow the hand. So this is how easily, how gracefully can my arm swing and my head be graceful as it follows. So I'm no forcing here. It's nice and easy. Think graceful. Imagine. So go back and imagine. See yourself. Perhaps close your eyes for a moment and imagine the gracefulness of the hand. See it moving gracefully in your mind. And then see if you can feel it moving gracefully in front of you. And then let's do the other side. Let that arm rest. And we'll do the same thing with the other arm. We'll go back and forth. And you might notice, oftentimes, depending on whether you're right or left-handed, you may have one side that moves, you get a little more movement, or it moves more freely on one side. Usually if you're right-handed, the right hand moves a little more freely. If you're left-handed, it's on the left. And then lower down. And let's do the ears. To try this again. We're going to massage the ears and gently, very gently tug on them, like we're massaging, well, almost like we're making if you ever made a pie shell and you kind of squeeze out the sides, that's what we're doing with the ears here. There's no pain or discomfort. So just gentle squeezing and a very slight pull. Doing it harder isn't going to make it better. So there's no pain. Please, no pain when we do this. And of course, if you have anything in your ears, you need to be extra careful around there, so we don't cause any discomfort. Let's try that again. This movement and gracefulness. Think graceful. Sometimes the working with the ears like that, it frees up some of the fascia. That's the tissue that surrounds the muscles in the body, and makes movement a little bit more easy, a little more free. And then try the other side. And then bring the hand down. Roll the shoulders a couple of times. Then the other way. And then we're going to circle around. And actually, let's do it with the hands. Starting with, bring the hands together like this, right in the front. Notice they're not too high. And I'm going to start making some circles, almost like I'm cleaning, say, a window. Think about cleaning your window. It's a little early for that, but spring will be here hopefully before we know it. And then I'm going to make the circles get a little bigger. The windows are getting bigger. I'm getting to the outside of the window. And notice how the head is circling with the hands. And think about that gracefulness again. Gracefully circling. Gracefully circling. Now I'm going to go back the other way. And we only make the circle, a giant circle is nice, but don't do it if your shoulders, if you have discomfort, please don't make the circles too big. But we're going to spiral the hands in. So we spiral them out, and then we're going to spiral them back in until they stop in the middle. And then we'll lower them down and sit up nice and tall. So let's see. So let's just do the hands for a moment. Open and closing. So start with the hands up like this and close them, and then open them and move them out so that the elbows are a little bit bent when I get to the end. My arms are almost fully extended, but not quite. Almost like I'm pushing something, like I'm pushing a door closed. And this might be something that you could do in a Tai Chi class. There's a softness in the hands and the fingers here, a softness in the wrist, softness in the shoulders. Even though there's movement, even though there's a little work going on, there's a softness. There's a balance in the feet, and there's a balance in the buttocks. If you're tired of sitting in the chair, you could stand up for this. But remember, standing is optional in the class. So almost everything we do, you could do in a chair the whole class. But if you're able to stand up, balance isn't a big deal. Then sometimes just taking a break from sitting, even for 30 seconds or a minute, is a nice way, Because whenever so notice that my posture is totally different when I'm standing up. So the curves of my back change versus when I'm sitting down, as well as the hips and the knees, of course. But it changes our anatomy. And we need that. If we keep our back in a position, and let's go ahead and lower the hands down. If the position of our back stays too long in one spot, the muscles sort of, they don't want to move after that. So when you go to move, they're like, oh, and it bothers us. So that's why it's important to move a little bit and not stay in the same position for a really long period of time. Even if you can move for every 10 or 15 minutes, just a little bit, it'll help. And sitting up nice and tall. And let's see, where were we? So we did the head. Oh, we were working on the hands here. Let's do the wrists. So circling the wrists around. And if you're not seated, go ahead and sit back down. We're going to do some leg lifting here. And go ahead and lift the feet up and circle them around. Remember, make sure the knees stay in the same spot. If you need to, you can put your hands on top of the knees like this. Don't let the knees move. The ankles are moving, but not the knees. Slowing down is a little more meditative, going a little faster. If you need a little more energy, if you need to build some more heat, if you're cold, go slightly faster. If you're getting hot and you want to cool down, go the other way, please. Then go slower. And see if you can sort of get your energy to go up or down depending on how you move. And then let's rest for just a moment. Take a couple of cactus breaths. Notice how the chest is feeling, how the shoulder blades are moving. Perhaps you get a little bit more movement now than you did at the beginning. Maybe, maybe not. But hopefully it feels a little more, you get a little more ease with the movement. So sometimes it's enough. We don't need more range of motion, but sometimes we need more ease of motion. And that really gets back to functionality. We do yoga in part as a mental exercise, but also we want our body to be more functionally, work better, more functional, I guess you would say. And we'll lift up and then the other side. And just take a moment, try to line up the hip and the knee and the toes. Toes are pointing straight up. I'm going to go back and forth like this a few times to start to feel, what does it feel like when I take that foot away with my spine? Please lift, keep the spine lifted when you take the foot away. So it might take a little bit more. You might have to bring your attention, even though I'm extending my leg, to the spine and extend it up at the same time. Because we don't have as much support. We take a foot away, the spine tends to collapse a little bit, or at least contract a little bit. See if you can keep it lifted as you do this. And start slow so that we can be mindful and we can really focus on lifting the spine as we lift the foot up. And let's add the breath to it. Inhale. Oh, perhaps give a sigh as you exhale. As you lift the foot up, think about bringing the toes back and pressing the heel away slightly. So we're lengthening the underside of the leg. This side under here is lengthening as we inhale and sit up tall. You could even press the bent leg down, the foot down into the floor. Let's try this. Slide forward. Slide forward in your chair. We're going to come back to those leg lifts in a moment. Slide forward in the chair so that you're near the edge. And then bring the feet back slightly. So the knees are just in front of the ankles a little bit. And then lean forward as if you're going to stand up, but don't stand up. Keep keep your buttocks in the chair, but begin to move the weight into the feet more, as if you were going to stand up. I mean, if you wanted to like lift your buttocks just a little tiny bit, it's actually still touching, but I've got so much weight coming forward that it's as if my butt becomes weightless in the chair. But notice how you're pressing the feet down when you do that. As I come forward, I press my feet. So I'm activating these quadriceps here and also the gluteal muscles and quadriceps. And that's what I want to do when I do my leg lifts. So let's try that again. So come back, sitting up nice and tall, and using the back of the chair for support if you want. You don't have to. If you want a more big challenge, don't use the back of the chair. But just make sure you can keep the spine lifted. If you can't keep the spine lifted, then you need to use the back of the chair. As I lift my leg up, I'm inhaling. I'm pressing the opposite foot down. So there's this action. Everything's moving up. The leg's moving up. The foot is pressing down so that it's supporting this side of the body's moving up. The spine is moving up. The crown of the head is moving up. So there's this lifting, this feeling of upness as I inhale. The breath is lifting me up. And then as I exhale, I go back down, and there's this feeling of grounding as the feet come down together and both touch the floor and the shoulders relax down. I still want to keep the spine lengthened. So let's try that. And we can also add the arm if you want. If you want more of a challenge, add the arm, inhaling up, exhaling down. So we want to be rising up when we breathe in. Think buoyancy. Buoyancy. Floating up like a balloon. Lengthening. And you'll notice that if your arm is floating up, you're going to get a little more opening on the side of the arm. A little more lengthening, but I'm not leaning. I'm not leaning to the side here. I'm lengthening, opening the ribs just on one side at a time. And I've been doing the opposite arm. You could do the same side arm if you wanted to change it up. So kind of your choice. I kind of like doing the opposite. But it's good to do both. Maybe not today, stick with one method today. And then if you want to try this again another day, if you're seated for a while at the table and you're bored and you're feeling a little like you need some energy, try this. And if anybody says anything, you can just invite them to do it with you. Say this is a good practice, try it. And then come back down. Let's roll the shoulders. And then roll them the other way. Take a few cactus breaths. So hopefully you're feeling a little warmer now, especially from the leg lifting. And we're going to slide forward in our chair and take a couple of breaths. Pressing the feet down. And we're going to interlace the fingers like this. So you have a choice here of which index finger is on top. Think about making it, so we usually just interlace like this. And I have one finger that is almost always on the top because it feels more natural. Try changing the interlace. So this is my unnatural side with my left index finger on top. It feels a little weird at first, but you get used to it if you do it regularly. And we're going to press the palms and open the hands slightly. So like my hands kind of look like this. So I'm really, let's do this. Let's massage the hands. So when we'll come back to that opening the hands, I'm taking the base of the thumb here and I'm using it to gently massage the opposite palm. And so I'm going to do it in 3 spots. This meaty part underneath the pinky. I'm going to do it between the thumb and forefinger or index finger, and then I'm going to do it at the base of the thumb like this. So there's 1 and 2 between the thumb, and then along the pinky side. I'm going to do the other side. Along the pinky, and then between the thumb and the index, and then finally at the base of the thumb. And now let's try that again with the interlacing the fingers and extending. See if that makes the palms open a little with more ease. They might not go farther, but see if it's a little easier for your hands. And then if you want, you can inhale and begin to lift them up and then come back down. So depending on your shoulders, you may only go up a little, or for some people, you may go up even higher. So try to keep in mind, we want the shoulders to feel okay when we do this. We want the shoulders to feel okay. And if this is really easy and you can put your arms way up in the sky and it's no problem, the shoulders are nice and comfortable, try bringing the elbows a little closer together. And that makes it a little more challenging. But in the beginning, letting the elbows be a little bent is okay. And let's change the interlace. So now let's put the other index finger on the top, the way we normally would. See if you notice the difference. And then try that again. Keeping the shoulders relaxed here. Keeping the shoulders relaxed. You could even do this exercise alternating. So I have one index finger on top, and then I change other index finger on top, and I do it again, other side, and then change, and then come back down and change, and one last time, change, and then come back down. Let's roll the shoulders, and then the other way. So we're going to stand up, or you can be seated. We're going to come to our standing mountain pose, or you'll come to your seated mountain pose. So if you're standing, if balance is an issue, or if you're concerned about balance, please have a chair handy. Even it can be nice to have a chair behind you and in front of you, or the other choice is to have the wall behind you and have the chair in front of you. So you have nice coverage back here or support behind you. But either way, we're going to be in mountain pose, either standing or seated. And then feel the feet touching the floor here. Feel the feet touching the floor. And extend the spine up by lifting the heart a little. You can even pat your chest here, and that's where the heart is. Lift it up a little. Move the shoulder blades back. I'll turn sideways so you can see. And there's a tendency for the belly to stick out. So we've got to pull the belly back in. So I need to firm up the abdomen here. We need to firm it up. If you need to, put your hands there and think about moving the navel back. So my navel's right here. Move the navel back towards the spine. So I'm going to contract the belly so that the navel's moving back towards the spine, and that's going to flatten the belly a little and a little less curve in the lower back. So we want the right amount of curve in the lower back, not too much, not too little. And then we're going to let the arms hang down, extending the back of the neck up. Try relaxing the chin down slightly. So I'm not tucking like this, but I'm softening the throat, letting the chin relax, letting the jaw relax. And if you need to, you can touch those areas as a way to bring your attention there. And you can relax. And then firm up the buttocks. The buttocks are gently squeezing together. It's as if we're compacting our hips together. So there's a firmness that comes to the buttocks. And then we're going to bend the knees slightly and then straighten. Notice my knees, they're not going off to the side. This is very slight bend. So I'll turn sideways. The bend is like that, and straightening. using the quadriceps. When I straighten the legs, the thighs move back. Think about moving the thighs back towards the wall behind you as you contract the quadriceps. And think about the firmness in the buttocks, and perhaps even the firmness in the inner thighs here, where they're squeezing together as if we had that block. You could even use a block. Some people practice with a block or a rolled towel in mountain pose like this. It's a nice way to be able to feel the inner thighs. So I'm bending the knees. It also helps to keep the knees straight. It's hard to have the knees flare out with something between the legs like this. Yeah, some people may actually be able to bring the legs together. Notice I have kind of a space there. So mine don't, I can't do that, but some people could actually, their legs are straight when they bring them together, and that's okay too. Then you might not need a block. And then we'll take our block like this, and we're gonna do triangle pose. Actually, we're gonna, let's do crane pose today. So crane pose is with the, it's like tree pose, but the leg isn't turned out. So we're going to stand up nice and tall in mountain pose. And if you're doing this seated, you'll just lift the knee up in front of you as you press the opposite foot down. So we need support with the other leg. So we'll lift up one leg and think about extending the other leg down as I lift up. So I'm going to lift the knee up, and depending on your balance and whatever, your knee, may go higher, or it may just be a little bit off the floor. It could even be just lifting the heel up and getting most of the weight to shift into the other leg. And if that feels okay, try lifting the toes just a little bit off just for a moment. And if you need help with balance, have the chair handy, and don't lean against it, but touch it with your fingertips or touch it with your hands for support. Notice I'm not leaning. It helps a lot with balance, that lifting up. And then if you can, you could even, since this is crane pose, you could flap your wings like this if you wanted. So it's more challenging. It's different than tree pose that way. So crane pose, you could flap your wings. And then we'll lower back down, and we'll do the other side. So see if you can have a little fun with the pose. I mean, it should be, I don't know that I'd want to be a crane outside right now because it's kind of cold, but maybe they probably went south, so they're probably in Florida somewhere. It might be nice there. And standing up nice and tall. And then I'm shifting the weight now to the other leg. So I'm just going to start lifting my heel up on this leg. And then I'm going to start to take my foot off the floor, firming up this leg, firming the buttocks together, extending the spine up. And then I can move, I'll turn sideways so you can see. I can move my knee to whatever height is comfortable for me. The higher up, the more challenging it becomes. I'm pressing the leg and the foot down so I have support underneath me. And then if I want, I can add my wings like this. Or you can even just hold your wings out too, almost like in tree pose, if you prefer. It's different. It feels different to have the arms moving in this pose. Perhaps, I won't say it's harder, it's different. Keeping the shoulders relaxed here. Shoulders are relaxed. And cranes usually have a big wingspan, so their wings look like they're moving slowly. And then go ahead and come on down. And then stand back in mountain pose. And we'll do triangle pose. So we'll step feet apart and extend the arms out to the side. Remember, wider feet apart, wider is more challenging. And then we'll inhale and we'll reach. Think about reaching the fingertips out slightly on this side and then bring the hands down. That helps to elongate the side of the body so that we don't bend, so we don't end up with a big bend here like this. So we extend. Notice how the sides of the body are relatively parallel. And then we bring the arm down and let it slide down and then come back up. And do the other side. Inhale, extend out. And one side is probably easier than the other. And then inhale up. We're going to go from side to side. Inhale. Extend. Bring the hand down. Inhale. Come back up. And exhale. So if you're standing, you can keep doing that until you get tired or tired of doing it. And then you can take your rest. If you're seated, remember it's pretty similar. Moving towards the front of the chair, feet are wide apart, reaching out and down. Inhale, exhale. You could also do it with the legs straight if you wanted. Exhale. And inhale, come back up and come back to mountain pose. Come back to your mountain pose, please. And we're going to just swing the arms, a little twisting, a little turning. So this sort of turning is a nice way to release the back. So doing this any time of day, if you do it in a gentle manner, it's a nice way to just bring a little bit more release in the back. And of course, you can do it seated as well, seated or standing. Then we're going to all go ahead and sit down. And sitting up nice and tall, we'll take a few sun breaths. And notice now if you get a little bit more opening in the shoulders, a little more ease of movement. A little more ease of movement. That's our goal in yoga. If we had a goal in yoga, that would be one of them. And then going the other way. You can give a little sigh as you exhale. Oh. And let's go ahead and slide back in our chair. We'll find our Shavasana. So you may need a little more warmth. I'm going to actually change my hat. I'm going to put on something warmer. You could also have a blanket. Nice way to practice in the winter is take a blanket and use it on the lower part of the body. So before I cover myself with a blanket, notice that my position is really similar to just seated mountain pose, but using the back of the chair and maybe letting the feet turn out a little bit if they'd like to do that. So being a little more flexible about the anatomy, but doing it, we want a neutral, we want an anatomy that feels normal and also supportive. I guess the most important thing is that we're able to functionally sit comfortably like this. We have to be able to sit comfortably. Even a little pillow behind the lumbar spine might be nice. And then resting the hands somewhere. I'm going to put mine in my lap, but you could rest them also here. You could also turn the palms up like this. I'm going to focus in on the breath. So remember, we'll complete our class together like this, and then you can continue on a little bit longer in your Shavasana. For as long as you want. you can do another 5 to 10 minutes, that's always nice. Shavasana is a great way to practice. Letting the shoulders relax, the eyes and face soften. Releasing the jaw and the tongue and the throat. Feeling the feet underneath us, feeling the buttocks underneath us. They are our support. And very gently, without too much effort, the spine is relatively straight or extending up with just a little tiny bit of effort. Not too much effort. Not too straight a spine when we do this. We want the natural curves to be in the spine. So we're balancing our ease and our effort here as we soften the shoulders and the arms and the legs and the feet. And we feel the spine rising up in the center of the body, or helping to lift us, helping to keep us lifted. Allowing the breath to relax and to slow down. I try to get the breath, I'd like the breath to slow down, but without trying to get it to slow down. It usually does it on its own if you just sort of let it settle down, don't think too much about it. Just think about relaxing the body, keeping our good posture. Usually the breath will settle down on its own. So we'll continue like this for about another minute, and then we'll formally end the class. And please continue. I'll tap the bowl, tap the bell. And that'll signal the formal end of the class, but please continue a little longer in your Shavasana if you're so inclined. I wish everybody a great weekend. And thank you. Namaste.